Hi everyone, my name is Sarah and welcome back to my channel. And today I'm going to give you my list of 10 series I'm going to read this year. Going to start this year. So if you've been following my channel, you know that I have an entire backlog of books that I have not yet read. So the goal of this video is to have a list of the book series that I want to start this year. So then at the end of the year, I can kind of check back in with it and see how I did. Did I finish any of these series? Did I DNF them? Did I not even pick up the books? Only time will tell, really. But without further ado, let me get into this list. Series number 1, The Witcher by Andrzej Sapkowski. I love this series. I adore the video game. I really want to read the books that they're based off of because I always feel like you get a little bit more in the books. I also really love the Geralt and Ciri father-daughter relationship, and I want more of that. And the games didn't give me enough, so I'm hoping that there's more in the book series. I just want to read it. Okay, so the next one is the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. Although I am going to make a disclaimer that I could also read the Inheritance Trilogy by N.K. Jemisin as well. I'm not sure which one I'm going to end up wanting to read because I've been trying to read the Inheritance Trilogy for a while. My problem is I have the one like big chunky bound trilogy copy and it's a monster, and so it's really hard to like get the motivation to read it because it just feels like I'm not making any progress no matter how much I read it. But I always enjoy what I end up reading. I just always, and then it takes me months to get back to it and I can never remember where I'm at or what I've read, so then I start over and it's just a continual cycle. That being said, this is the one book series that I'm going to allow an exception to of I can read, if I read the Inheritance Trilogy or start it, that will count in place of the 5th season. But lately I've been feeling like I kind of want to read the 5th season first because I feel more drawn to this premise first. The next one, the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. Robin Hobb is an author that I've wanted to read for a while, and I did actually start this book last year, but just didn't make enough progress on it. I wasn't drawn in quick enough to continue my momentum for reading, and so I put it to the side, and like a lot of things, if you put it to the side, I kind of forgot about it, and then by the time I remembered, I would have had to have started over, and I just wasn't really in the mood for reading fantasy then. I got really into thrillers and historical romances again, so I just put it completely to the side. But this year I'm coming back to it. I'm gonna make some progress. Or officially DNF it. I don't know. We'll find out. So the next one is the Six of Crows duology by Leigh Bardugo. This is one that's incredibly popular on BookTube. I've heard a lot of people talk about this particular book series and book in general, and so I am excited to give it a shot. I feel like it's the general vibe that I'm going to like, and so I'm really hopeful for this book. I think out of all the book series I'm reading, this is the one I'm most hopeful for, that I'm going to end up really liking, because there are some that I'm not sure about and some that I know that I'm going to end up liking, and this is one that I'm hopeful I will end up liking. Just everything I've heard about it feels like it's right up my alley, but you never know. The next one is going to be The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This is a series that I am super excited to read. I've owned this book for what feels like 100 years and just have never gotten around to it, and so this is the year that that's going to change. I'm going to get to the series because this is one of those that I know that I'm going to end up really liking because I adore the premise. I really like the bits that I have read and seen, everything that I've heard about it. I do feel like I'm going to end up liking. That being said, I'm kind of worried now that I just kind of jinxed myself, but I'm gonna stay positive. I'm gonna love it. I know it. So the next one is going to be The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This is the one series that I don't know that much about, other than it is like sci-fi fantasy mixed, I guess. I just know that there's quite a few people that have read it and have said really good things about it, and so I am really curious to read that series. And I think the newest one in the series just came out recently. I feel like it just came out, or maybe it was like a novella or something, but something just came out with it, and it kind of re-sparked a lot of interest, so that's why I put it on my list for this year. The next one is going to be The Lives of Locke Lamora by Scott Lynch. This is another one that a lot of people talk about, especially if you're into kind of the fantasy-esque type settings and worlds. I love a sort of morally gray thief type character, and that is exactly what this book sort of is at its heart and where it starts. And so it is one that I am incredibly excited about and just want to kind of get going with this one. So the next one are actually two series by Brandon Sanderson. The first one is the Mistborn Trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. This is the one that sort of takes place after the sort of big heroes won the war type of story. It takes place a little bit after that, where like basically the heroes from this old era are now the kind of leaders, and they kind of have a very specific regime, and so the people, I believe it's like the idea that the people have to like rise up against them. Which sounds really interesting. That could be totally wrong, but I do know it takes place after the kind of war is won, the prophecies fulfilled type of story. And I find that premise incredibly fascinating, where like it takes place sort of after the fact, and I really just adore Brandon Sanderson's writing. So I do want to end up reading this series as well. Now the next one is the Stormlight Archives, by Brandon Sanderson. This is one that I have started, which I know you're probably not supposed to start this one until you read the Mistborn Trilogy, but I started it. It's fine. I am 473 pages into this book, so don't worry, I still have over half left. Though, to be fair, I will probably restart this whenever I get back to it, because it has been a couple of it's been a couple of weeks since I've picked it up. Please don't judge me too harshly. But I remember really enjoying what I have read so far of this book. So I do want to get back to this series, and I'd like to read up through the current one that was just released at the end of 2020. And then the last series on my list is, I feel like it might throw you for a loop if you've watched this far. And that is A Series of Unfortunate Events. I've never read this series. It sort of passed me up, where I was just like a little bit too old for the series when it came out, and then I just never really got around to reading it after that. And now, when I'm 31, feels like the perfect time to read this children's series. I'm thinking of doing some sort of vlog for it, or sort of like my thoughts on the series, since it will be the first time I've ever read the series, and I don't really know anything about it except it's about a group of orphans. That's about it. But this is a series that I do actually want to read this year. I'd love to read this whole series in its entirety, just for the simple fact that it's like the easiest series on my list, purely because it is like a children's series. So I feel like it will be a lot easier to get through than a lot of these more epic, dense fantasy books. There you have my list. Are any of these series on your TBRs for this year? Have you read any of these series that you highly recommend? Are there any series you feel like are missing from my list? I mean, gosh, there's just so many books that I still want to read that I'm slowly like working my way through. But I feel really good about this list. I feel like this is a very manageable system for me. Gosh, fingers crossed that it ends up being a manageable series. Who knows? Am I right? That's what I've got, and that's what I'm going to be doing. Feel free to pop back in at the end of the year, and we can all shame me for not making any progress. I really feel like I'm not going to make as much progress as I think I'm going to. What are you going to do? It's fine. This is a fun thing anyways. It's all about the fun. Am I right? And again, thank you guys so much for watching all the way to this point, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day.